Hello again, this is Diwari with Uniquely Average Gamers, and we're going to be playing Titan Extreme Mode, Final Fantasy Realm Reborn. This is me running Titan with my guild Undercon. We're getting some people attuned to Leviathan, and to do so you need to clear all of the pre-existing Extreme Mode primals. So, there's a few things we're going to cover. He doesn't really change that much from normal or hard mode, but we are going to be covering all of his moves for the sake of this video and commentary. Boss is going to start out, you're going to have your first tank pick him up, turn him around. Hold him on the north, that's what we do, we tend to keep him in the north as well. Boss is going to have 3 moves that he's going to do. One is going to be a series of plumes, you'll see the ground animation, you need to get out of that. 2 is going to be a series of stomps, which are going to continually cause AoE damage to the group. 3 is going to be my favorite, landslides. Landslides are going to be a linear item, such as that right there, and that's going to knock you off of this tiny little platform. If you fall off that platform, you're not coming back. There's no res, sorry. The more damage you do, the more the boss is going to jump. When the boss jumps, he's going to land and cause AoE damage to your raid, and the stage is going to be decreasing in size. Another thing the boss is going to do is he's going to encase 2 people in rocks, 1 healer, 1 DPS. Have them separate. Have the person who is DPS run directly under the boss. Have the healer run away from the boss to the south side. People need to break them out. Now, when he does the sumo stomp, it is important that everybody stacks right on his butt. And I mean that because he's going to be knocking all of you back, and you need to have enough clearance so that way you don't get knocked off the edge. After he does his sumo stomp, keep an eye out because he will always landslide after a sumo stomp. Additionally, he will always landslide during a bomb phase. A lot of the times his rotation is going to be based entirely on just pluming and landsliding, so keep an eye out for both of those.
Shit, sorry.
Now, you need to have 2 tanks for this because the tanks need a tank swap when they get 2 stacks of a stacking debuff that's caused by that little move right there. Now this is important because if you get up to 3, Echo or not, your tank's going to be taking a lot of damage, so you really want to enforce that tank swap. Another important thing to note is that everybody always continuously needs to be stacked up on his behind, and the reason for that is because that allows the plumes to spawn in one area, so everybody can move as a whole, and additionally all heals can be dispensed across the raid. After he jumps for the second time, he is no longer going to be targetable, but rather his heart will be. Now it is imperative that you burn this heart. Blow all of your DPS cooldowns, do what you have to. If you have Echo, you're going to be fine. But just nuke it down, because there's a timer. If you do not hit that timer in time when he goes up and jumps, then you wipe. Sorry, but Titan's really, 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 really unforgiving. And there can be a lot of wipes if anybody gets knocked off the edge. The important people that you really need to make sure don't get knocked off the edge is your tanks. Because if your tanks get knocked off the edge, then you can't tank swap, and your entire raid is pretty much just done right there. So you might as well just have everybody, go lemmings off the side.
No problem.
So tanks, you need to be on it. You really need to perform more than other people in this raid. If you have enough Echo, you can do it with 1 healer. Or of course you can do it with less DPS. But the important thing is don't have your tanks die. So, as we continue on, we're going to see him come down, and he's going to AoE once again. Now this AoE, pay attention to this part right here, because there's a little bit of a gimmick with his aggro, that the tanks can lose aggro. It might be a regen popping, we don't know, we haven't figured it out yet, but there's a couple times, he doesn't always do it, that it's going to happen. As soon as he lands, main tank, pull him to the north. Off tank, go stand on the east side. Rest of your raids stand on the south side. This is important because these 2 little ads are going to spawn. The tank, the off tank, needs to pick them up and make it so they are facing out across the abyss. That way, when they landslide, yes, they do have a landslide. It's not as wide, but it's singular, as you can see there. It won't be pointed at your raid and knock people off. Now, you need to have your DPS burn these guys down. When they die, they're going to leave AoEs on the ground. You can see them right there, the little lava pits. They cause damage over time, and they significantly slow your movement speed. So, kill them on the same area, so that way you can mitigate the overall area that the AoE encompasses. After the ads die, we don't do it here because we have a ton of Echo, but we tend to have our tank swap again. Tank swapping can be done, never do it during a landslide, but also you can do it, I almost died there, also you can do it when the boss is up in a sumo step or right after a landslide. That way you can make sure that no one is in a position that they could be knocked off the ledge. So, tank swap at 2, and then everybody DPS him down. In a little bit, you're going to see another little trick come up. At about 35–40%, those little plumes that have been spawning, those wells of AoE damage that we've been running left and right of to avoid, those right there, there's a double one. So we run left, and then we run to the right. That's what we do. Obviously, it's up to your preference on which way you go, but get out of it twice. Now after that, it's going to be a series of just repeating items. You're going to see more landslides, more bombs. When the bombs spawn, actually I guess we haven't covered them yet. When the bombs spawn, you're always going to run to where the last bomb spawns. And the reason for that is because they tend to bomb or to explode in a succession. So what you're able to do is run towards the one that exploded from the one that hasn't exploded yet, thus avoiding all damage.
Right now.
He tends to landslide during the rocks. I do not pay attention to trying DPS anything down when I know a landslide is coming, because as I mentioned before, if the tank gets knocked off, it's done.
Not
so
till he jumps, though.
yeah, just roll with it. After a little bit, you're going to see super bombs appear. What super bombs are is that instead of appearing in rows across the area that the bombs tend to do, they all spawn at once. They all spawn and cover the entire area. There's no safe spot. So how we defeat this is we have our entire raid stand on the southernmost bomb and nuke it down. Nuke it down as hard as you possibly can. Once it is down, the boss is going to jump. Everybody is going to stack in that tiny little area. The bombs are going to go off and cause AoE damage there. The boss is going to land from a jump and cause AoE damage there. And he's going to be doing one of the landslides again. It is so important that our healers just blow as many heals as they can right here, because your raid is going to be taking a lot of damage very quickly. And you need to have them up so that way when these ads spawn, the second time and final time that they spawn and your off-tank picks them up, everybody will be at good health so they can focus on DPS. The principle here is the same. You're going to essentially just have the off-tank tank those ads off to the side, point them away, dodge landslides, dodge rocks. Tanks, you can take a rock hit and be perfectly fine, especially with Echo. Typically I eat a rock if I'm tanking, because I don't want him to move from his position. But again, with the ads, make sure you kill them next to each other so that way they drop their AoE to the ground. If you need a tank swap, make sure you do that. But from here on out, it's all pretty basic. He's going to, of course, do his landslides, he's going to do his plumes, and he's going to do his sumo stomp, making sure that you have your people run under the boss if they're encased, people run away from the boss if they're not, stack on the bosses behind so you do not get knocked off, and then also dodge all landslides. And as I mentioned before, he's always going to landslide after he sumos, he's always going to landslide during a bomb phase. So just pay attention to when those are coming. We do end kind of sloppy here, but in our eyes, a win is a win. So we got Titan. A lot of people got Titan, so it's not you should feel accomplished for having beaten a fight this difficult, but it won't be hard to find groups for this because it is part of the weekly. If this was helpful, then I'm happy, and just give it a like or comment. We always do appreciate it. Have a good one. We have a friends channel.
You weren't sacrificed. I had no choice.
This has been Diwari with Uniquely Average Gamers.
I'm aiming.
More to come.
I'm going to take those because I need to get to the new accuracy cap.
Take them.